Are you an introvert? Are you an extrovert? Or are you a ambivert? So if you're outgoing and you're an extrovert, put that in the chat. If you're more inside, an introvert. Okay, so we got already extrovert, introvert, ambivert. Okay, good. Introvert. Okay, neurodivergent, introvert. All right. Okay, ambivert. Well, wonderful. Oh, and I think
Mēlani,
actually, did you need to introduce? I jumped right in. You probably have introductions.
Mēlani is an extrovert, okay? Because I'm trying to introduce her, but girlfriend done gone on. So I'm just going to be brief so that she can get on with what she needs to do. So my name is Sheila Ross, and I am with the Delaware Division of the Arts. And today's workshop title, as Mēlani has already told you, is Transformative Engagement. How serving your network can increase your net worth. And that's something we all need to know about. This session is going to be recorded. So you're going to have to turn off your video if you do not want to be recorded. Okay, and I believe the tech people have already put that permission out to you guys. But if not, just know you're going to be recorded. So like Mēlani has said, she's going to get you going. She's going to help you evolve, expand, and multiply your contacts, your community engagement practices, your outreach. Basically, she's going to help you try to get some more money. And so that's something we all want to know. You all have read the bio description, so I don't have to bore you with that again. I want to remind you all to think about applying for the Mid-Atlantic Innovative and Create Award. It's $1,000 to support your work and how to make your idea a reality. And with that said, you've read her bio, and here she is, Mēlani Douglas.
Okay, did you see how I was ready? I was ready to fly. I was ready to get on this airplane, and I didn't even check to see if there were seatbelts. I do apologize. I was ready to go. Okay. So my name is Mēlani Douglas, and honestly, I am actually an ambivert, leaning more to an introvert. And I'm a supervert. Thank you. Somebody said they are still a vert. I'm a Ravens fan, so I'm not going to get into that. Norberto, that's not my lane, but I'm actually quite a person who needs a lot of downtime. I like time with my family and friends. I prefer very close, intimate, small group connections. There are some of my family and friends on here that I've known for quite some time, and they will tell you that when I am out in public, I am ready to go. You see all this, it's there. And then there's a beautiful poet here named Catrice, and she'll tell you when we were in school, because her and I are so much alike, when it came to writing the poetry and going in, we could go in, but when it's time to deliver, we could always deliver, right? But the reason that I can do that is because of what I have been able to do and create this model called transformative engagement. And so transformative engagement is really, really good for extroverts, introverts, and ambiverts, for people who sometimes don't always have the capacity to reach out to a lot of people, or people that are so out in the world, they forget how to follow up on the connection. So we're gonna go through a few steps, and then I'm gonna walk you through it. This is usually a very long, like a 9-hour all-day workshop. So I am trying to give this to you in an hour, which is why I was ready to take off. But the first thing I wanna do is I wanna walk you all through a grounding exercise, because even though I'm an arts administrator, as an arts administrator, I'm an artist first. And so I have exercises that I am able to do that help me move from the studio into the public world and into engaging and being able to talk to my network. Some of you, does anybody in here as an artist sometimes just have a little bit of an issue talking about your work? So if you have that, please drop yes in the chat, raise your hand, do whatever you're comfortable with, because we're gonna work on coming up with some strategies of what to do with that. It is okay. It is okay. So after this, I hope that this 1-hour version of what I usually do in an all-day workshop will help you. I was not going to do this. I said, no, I'm never doing transformative engagement again. I'm done. I'm going to go back into the studio, my art practice. But I got into the studio. I have a big project coming up. And guess what I had to do? I had to start my transformative engagement process. And then you all are going to start that process with me. So let's get started. So first, let's start with a ground. Oh, let me tell you a little bit more about who I am. My practice and purpose centers around creating a world where ancestral technology helps people build loving communities and supportive communities. I use art and wellness to enhance and employ the intrinsic values of everyone from the block to the boardroom. That is what I do with my practice. So let's start. Now, the reason I have this picture is one, because a lot of our projects are our babies. And when you are a child, when you are a baby, or when you have one, that's one time, a huge time, that usually there's this network or community that comes around to hold you. So I want to start with a grounding exercise that's going to remind you that even though anything you have in your art practice, your service, anything that you're giving to people, it deserves the same level of care that you would give to a newborn. It is a newborn idea, and someone will benefit from it. So if you can, if you're comfortable, you can either close your eyes or you can just sit very still, get comfortable. Take a moment and get a little bit more comfortable. I always like that. Find that sweet spot where you're just a little bit more comfortable. Take a deep breath in and find yourself fully aware of you, your being. What do you feel? What can you hear? Take one more breath in for you. Exhale. Breathe deeply the entire room. Breathe in the room that you're in. And breathe in the care. And exhale all that you have to give that fills the room that you're in. Then I want you to think about the structure that you're in. If you are inside a house, an office, think about the whole building. And breathe with the intention of filling your entire space with everything good that's in that space, all of the support, the beams, the floors, everything that's supporting you. Think about everything that's holding that building up. And then go beyond that building. Think about the block that you're on, the neighborhood that you're in. All of the systems that are in place, all of the people that are in place to support you and that you are supportive of. Think about your city, expand to your city. Expand to your region. Think about all of the lives and the people that have walked before, that have made it possible. Honor them. Expand it to your country that we're currently in, to this country. And then expand it to every country of origin that's a part of your DNA that you may never know, that you may know or never know, to the entire world. And slowly breathe and think about the entire universe. Even if you just get to this solar system, there is so much in place to support you, your work, everything that you're doing. So call into that energy that's here, supporting even the most minute object, holding up the things that can't be seen. Pull them back into you. Breathe into that oneness that makes all of us. Pull it back here. And bring it back to you, all of the energy, all that's supportive of you, all that went into creating your existence. And open your eyes. Sometimes we forget that there is so much in place to support everything that we're doing. We also forget that we are an integral part of supporting everything that is happening. And so I want to talk about how your networks, they need you. In one of my roles as the Director of Public Programs at the National Museum of Women in the Arts, I am always putting people in position. I'm curating shows, I'm curating programs, I'm finding all kinds of ways. And a lot of times it is people who I can find and people who are reaching out to me and I know where they are. And they just let me know. It's not even from a place of you need to do this, but just letting me know. So I want you to start to get comfortable with letting people know. So we're going to start with the amazing, the great me, the great you. First of all, what are your rituals or connection to yourself? What we just did was a ritual of connection to you. Because sometimes when you're coming from the school, or you're coming from your studio, you're coming from home, you're coming from work, getting into a place of connection of you that says, okay, what's next for me? And then also the next part is being clear about what you want to share. And one way you can be clear about what you want to share, and if we were in a full workshop together, I would ask you, we would write a brag sheet. It is a whole you did that sheet, because I promise I know how amazing you are. And you forget all the amazing things that you have done. And so when it's time to talk about your work, you're so busy doing your work. At least, you know what? Let me say me. I know you all are professional engagement folk and you get out there and talk about your own work all the time. I sometimes, when someone asks me about my work, if I have not reviewed it and I don't have my brag sheet, I'm like, what? Because I'm already in another project. So have your brag sheet ready, right? What do your friends say is your best asset? Ask your friends. Why would your friends, what would they want you to teach them? Because I promise you, there is something that they would love to hear from you. Also, what are your clients saying about you? Are you getting testimonials? Do you have at the end of your workshops, do you have a way that you can either reach out to people, email people, or that they have a reason to reach out to you? And so when your clients are working with you, what do they have to say, right? And I'll give you an example of some testimonials in a few, because sometimes people say, well, how do I get a testimonial? What do I use for it? Ask them, what did your service do for you? The next one is a SWOT analysis. That's just a knowing what your strengths and weaknesses are. And I'm going to tell you, when you start to look for your collaborators, knowing your strengths and weaknesses and being very proud. I am very proud of my weaknesses, because when I am building a team, let me tell you, I need a team that's going to do what I cannot do. And you have to say, you know what, I'm just not good at that. Or sometimes you have to say, I just don't prefer to do that. I know how to write grants. I probably am a good grant writer. I prefer not to do it. Can we get somebody else to do it? So knowing those kind of things are going to help you as well. And then also, who can you serve? I know that once you start to literally, we would write down a list of all the people that you know, write down a list of what are the positions that they're in, what do they need to do, what are they trying to accomplish, and what is it that you have that can serve them, and how can you connect to them? Not even from, it could just be from a place of service. And so maybe it's not even your biggest offer, but you can say, hey, I noticed that you needed, let's say if I say you were doing community engagement, I made a short paper that you may be able to share with your team that runs down how to do community engagement. It's just a 3-step plan. I just want to send it to you. And you send it to them and say, just give it to them, be of service, so that when they're thinking about community engagement, or when they're thinking about something in our practice, or you say, hey, I work with neurodivergent children. I have 5 tips on how to work with neurodivergent children successfully. Send it to them. And so when they say, oh, I need someone who's in arts, who works with neurodivergent children, that your name is at the top of their mind. So think of even tiny ways that you can be of service, but you have to know how you can serve, which is your clarity around it, what you want to share. And then you also have to sit down and just think about the people you know and say, who can I serve? And I don't know if anybody knows that Patti LaBelle song, Somebody Loves You, but listen, somebody needs you, okay? And so they need you. So if you've got to put this in the background to let yourself know somebody needs you. I would sing it, but I did not warm up my voice, so I'm not going to do that to you. So we're going to go to the next one, okay? The great we. Did it go to it? Oh, it didn't do it. Hold on one second. So the next, oh, this is an example of testimonials. So as a part of my healing practice, it's part of my healing arts practice. One of the things I work with people is on ancestral technology, helping them be in touch with like their ancestors and their history and how they can apply it to today. So this is a way that you can get testimonials, ask people about it. I use Canva. If anybody's ever used Canva before, use Canva, put your testimonials inside of your proposals, put it inside of at the bottom of your sheets, make it beautiful, right? Make it something that people will want to see and that it's, excuse me, it ties to what people would want to do inside of their practice, okay? So the next step is to connect the great we. There's an African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. I love that proverb because what it's saying is that you're always going to be better by the people that you connect to. Like, I know that when I leave this workshop today, just from you all being in the workshop and engaging, I am going to be better. It's going to pull me deeper into my own practice. It's going to be like, you know what, Mēlani, you need to update your brag sheet. It's going to remind me as well. So me, by being of service and by connecting to you, and any question that you email me with, or any question that you have here is going to make me better. So it's always going to be, I can go further by going together with you. So we have our rituals of connection to self, but what are your rituals of connection to other people, right? So what are the ways, how often are you reaching out to people? Maybe some people, they have birthdays. Some people, they do end of the year cards. They do holiday cards. Some people just say, hey, you're having a great summer. I had someone reach out to me and they were just like, hey, it's summertime. Just wanted to check in. I know this is when you're planning. How's your summer going? And we got to talking. And they gave me a recommendation for like a mosquito repellent. And it was just so funny. And it sounds so random, right? But it just made this really interesting connection, right? So it's just sometimes you want to just reach out and say, how's your summer going? Now, if you are a more introverted person, then because sometimes like I said, I always say, hey, it's summer. I'm thinking about you. I just want to send you this. So sometimes you have to think about, is your ritual of connection one that is a call and response ritual of connection, or is your ritual of connection something that just gives something to the person, right? That says, hey, I just want to give it to you, and that's it. If you feel a little bit of pressure by the call and response, because sometimes people don't reach out because they want to be reached back to, but not really. So sometimes if that's something and be honest with yourself, you know what, say, hey, I'm not really ready for a lot of conversation, but I do want to reach out to people. I want to say, have a great summer. I want to say, have a great school year. So I want to send them this and just send it to people. It doesn't have to be big. Just send something off or send a note to them. Okay. So think about what your rituals of connection are. How do you want to connect with people that you work with? And then also, are you listening, right? So if there's somebody that you want to work with, Google them, see if they've done any speaking engagements, and see what are the problems that they're talking about. A lot of times people are always telling you what their problems are. They're telling you what they're thinking about. They're telling you what what are the big questions that they have. So sometimes it's a matter of just saying, let me take a moment to look into this person, see what they're working on, and just see what are the problems, what's happening at their institution. So if you are an artist and you're saying, well, I would like to work with this education department at this museum. And then you say, oh, okay, well, this is the kind of programming that they have. Say, hey, I got a chance to watch this video. I love what you're doing there. If you ever have any interest in blank, I just wanted to tell you about my work. I would love to be invited to what you're doing. So you're not even saying, hi, you're not necessarily straightforward saying hire me, but you are saying you're putting yourself on people's radar. And here's the funny thing. A lot of times we do that with people that are 3 to 4 or 5 people away from who we are, but we haven't even done it with the people that are within our first 3 circles, right? And I do that all the time. Like today I had this workshop and I was like, oh my God, I did not send it to like the people that were closest to me. So I shared it on social media. I shared it on, LinkedIn, but I could have also just sent a text to people that says, hey, I'm doing this workshop next week. So don't be afraid to let the people that are close to you know what you're doing. And one key thing, if you sometimes to take the pressure from me of saying, oh, you've got to come, just know if you know someone who needs this or who would benefit from it, please share it with them. Right? So these are some of the ways that you can do that. Study, so that's studying with the person that they need to collaborate with. Identify what you want from the connection. Pardon the spelling errors. So identify what you want. So sometimes you want to be just on their radar. That's great. Maybe you want to be invited to some of the events. Maybe you want to sign up for their mailing list. Maybe you want to have a conversation. I would say definitely try to work with the people that are closest to you, because the people that are closest to you are going to always lead you to other people that need your work. And you will be surprised. I am always surprised at who is connecting me with who about who needs my work, right? And then that always puts you when you're being connected directly. So that's a great thing as well. But think about what you want from it. And even if you don't communicate with the other person and say, oh, I eventually want my goal, is to have a certain amount of contracts by this many times a month, right? Or say in this season, I want to do this many contracts at this amount of dollars. Because if you're doing a business plan for your practice, these are some of the things that you may be thinking about. So you may not say, oh, hi, I'm reaching out because my goal is to have 5 contracts for my da-da-da-da at this price. No, you may just be reaching out because you're trying to find out how you want to serve them, but you have a clarity with yourself about what you want, okay? And then create templates if connecting is hard. Honestly, not even if it's hard. Create templates. And what I mean by an email template is say in your email, hey, I'm just reaching out for the summer, or hey, I want everyone to know what's up, like for a newsletter. Create a template that makes it easy that you can send out to several people. I do, sometimes I like, when it comes to things like MailChimp or Constant Contact. However, sometimes that gets lost in people's emails, right? And so I would highly suggest make a template, check it before you send it out, and send it out sometimes individually to people when you really want to connect to them. Because then that is kind of coming from you versus their versus the Constant Contact or from the MailChimp, because sometimes it just gets lost, right? So the next thing is the amazing project, right? So you and this person, you're going to put your heads together. You're going to decide on what you want to do. And so there's levels to this, right? One level, it just might be that your network, right, is going to connect you to someone else. So at one level, you're not doing a whole project with them. You just made them aware. You've made people aware, and they're saying, oh my gosh, I know someone who does blank. Let me introduce you to them, right? And so because that becomes a way for them to be of service to their network of people. And now that's something to remember. Your service, it serves. And so that's you, when you realize that you have a service that people might pay money for. Why do they pay money for? Because it serves them. So when you put your head together with someone and you say, okay, how are we going to do this? Or you have something that I know this person over here needs, and you start also connecting them to what they need, right? But if you decide that you are going to collaborate with a person, you say, okay, so this is something that we're going to be together. Now, collaborations can go in so many different ways. I just want to give you a case study. We had Magnetic Fields, which was an amazing exhibition at the National Museum of Women in the Arts. And it was Black abstract artists, right? Now, when I first got on the job, it was working with, they were trying to figure out how to have departments work closer together, or it was definitely an interest of mine. Like, how do departments work together? So I teamed up with the director of the gift shop, and I said, hey, wouldn't it be interesting to have Black abstract artists be able to come in and be able to, maybe if they have something that they can sell inside of the gift shop. And so there was an artist who I was like, oh, she does amazing jewelry. She does amazing pottery. And the aesthetic of it it had such a resonance for what the abstract artist, for the work that was in the room. So what I was able to do is connect the jewelry artist with the gift shop director. And then they had a whole other project where they offered her beautiful work. And then they did this comparison analysis of her work to another person's work. So this is something that is a way that we put our heads together, and it helped meet a need of the person in the museum shop, the institution overall. And I found another way to bring an artist in, which is always great, because when you're at a museum or when you're at some of these institutions, people will have you thinking, oh, there's only a few ways that artists can get in. Find some other ways to get people to the table. Always find another way to get people there, right? So that's an example of the low-hanging fruit. Look at the project, look at what people need, look at what you have to give, and say, you know what, this one is easy. This is easy right here. I can do blank and make one phone call and I can make this happen, and do that. And so when that becomes like an integral part of how you do, people begin to say, you know what, not only is she networking, she's serving the network. He's serving the network. And I'm saying she because I'm talking about myself, but they're serving the network, and how can we pull them in? Okay. So the other one is like, when you look at your levels of collaboration and you say, okay, we're going to go bigger. We're going to start from the beginning. I would immediately say, sit down with that person and evaluate who is their community and your community. Begin to do a power assessment and say, hey, who are all the people that we know, right? Who are the people that are like, do that? If we were in a workshop for an all-day workshop, what I would have you do is like, look at your circle from the smallest to a medium circle to a large circle. And then when you work with a partner, you put those circles together. How many people, if you remember a Venn diagram, can you just put a yes in the chat? Because I love me a good Venn diagram. So a Venn diagram is, you have your one circle here, you have your one circle there, and then you put them together. So what is the person over here? What do you have? And then you find all this juicy stuff in the middle that you guys have together. And that's going to help you make this amazing project. And here's the thing. Kylie's like, yes. Okay. So Shelly's, yes. So we know about the Venn diagram. We know about that, right? So here's the thing. You may even have in your mind what you think you want to get from this relationship. And it is good to know what you want to get from the relationship. But what you want and what you have to give are kind of like directions on a compass. You're saying, you know what, I'm going east. There's 950 million things I could do. I want to go this way, right? And this is the direction I want to go in. Now, when you do this kind of process with a person or even with yourself, and you create a team, a magical thing happens. Your east becomes beyond your wildest dreams. You're no longer like, you're now off the planet. So you've gone from like Earth to the clouds to the moon, and now you're in a whole other, the opportunities open wide up. But it is your clarity of direction in the beginning of what you want and who you are and how you can serve that is going to give you the peace of mind, the calmness, to be able to, one, continue it. If you're an extrovert and you're already there, you're going to need a level of calm to stay in that direction and keep going, right? If you're an introvert, you're going to need a level of like, okay, it's worth it. It's worth me coming out, right? That's going to be like, oh, this is bigger. This is bigger than all the joys and luxuries of just staying in my own house. I personally like staying at home. So it's got to be big, right? So I've got to be really clear, and I need to be like excited. I need to be like, wow, this is something I really could not do and could not imagine if I was not imagining with this person. So that's the amazing project that you guys will come up together with. The next part is the cooking together, the collaboration on content. So this is like, and so I think about this part of like being in the kitchen. And so, sometimes when you cook with a person at the beginning, you do this very like 30-second analysis. It's like, okay, so do you like to cook or clean? Do you want to cut? Do you want to what did you want to beat the fire? So it's like quick, it goes quick, right? Now, some people are like, I want to be in the kitchen alone. Okay, you save that for your own projects. That's awesome. You have that freedom. That's what your studio's for. Be alone, it's okay. But when you decide you're going to cook with someone, do a quick assessment. Say very, very honestly, very quick, like, hey, I prefer I prefer to clean. I prefer to do the dishes. I prefer to serve. And so you begin to say what that person prefers and what do you prefer, right? Then if everybody's like, you know what, I don't like cutting vegetables. You don't like cutting vegetables either? Well, I guess we're buying pre-cut vegetables, right? So outsource it. Have somebody else do that part and be able to make it easy for you and this person or this institutional organization to work with, right? And so the next one is, what are your rituals of working together? How often are you going to talk? Are you going to meet once a week? Can you set a time for it? Maybe it's something, hey, it's in the ideation stages. So you're just going to get together maybe once a month to just brainstorm and see where it is. Okay, maybe you're in the play stage. I always encourage people that if you have time, have a play stage. We're going to get together, we're going to do something, or I'm going to come and do something that you're doing that has nothing to do with the project. But it just gives me time to be in your space and time for you to be in my space. And it's just a play. We're just playing with things, right? But what are your rituals? And then also, when you find something that this person really shines at, celebrate them and make them shine, because I could do a hip hop reference here. I shine, you shine. I don't know if anybody knows that, but when it says that I shine, you shine as well, right? And so when that person shines and you can celebrate with them, you can do that as well, okay? I'm going to keep going because I want to make sure we have time for questions. So the next one is position the people on your team. And I know that you're saying, okay, well, how do we get from the beginning of like connecting with people, making sure that it's your network? Why is it so important to go further down and for me to talk to you about how to execute a project? The reason I'm taking you so far or this far down into this is because when you can release your anxiety around how to do it or how to execute it, when you actually reach out to your network and you can feel empowered and have some sort of plan, I know that I feel so much better when I'm like, okay, what happens when that big organization calls me back? What happens when my dream collaborator calls me back? What happens when somebody pulls me out to do this solo project and I've got to build a team, right? So a lot of times people, from what I've seen, they don't connect to their network because they're actually more afraid of the next steps and what's happening down the road. So if we talk about what's down the road and we can ease our minds about that, you'll be less afraid of the next step, okay? So hopefully you can trust me on this. Is this helpful? Are we good? Okay, good. Oh, somebody knew the Smith & Wesson. Okay, Mr. Root, you knew the reference. I shine, you shine. Okay, good. All right, so yes, I'm hoping that this is helpful for everyone, okay? So the part that you want to think about once you've established like who your team is, what your collaboration is, how do you position your people, right? So did anybody take any road trips this summer? Raise your hand or say yes in chat if you took a road trip. Okay, so I have some hands raised. Now, does anybody back in the day, I'm probably going to date myself really good, we didn't have where you could put the navigation on the screen. Does anybody remember that? So there's two levels we could go back on this. One level was you had to print from MapQuest, right? And you had to print down. So that's one generational level. But I'm gonna go further back to AAA maps, okay? Yes, take it all the way back to take it back to the maps. So you had to have your map, and sometimes, my dad could be a little finicky about trying to highlight his map, but you had to have a path to highlight the map. It was on a certain page. You had to understand the legend. Now, if you were traveling by yourself, you either had to keep it by memory or you had to pull over, okay, refresh your mind, get on the map, and if a road closed, I don't know what to tell you. And I agree, Denise, it's still helpful. I prefer having my maps, so that's just me, and Denise. But if you were driving with a group of people, the person who was in the front seat had to be well positioned. You had to choose your road partner well, okay? Now, the person in the back seat. Maybe they know how to pack the perfect lunch, but my God, do not give them the map, and do not let them sit in the front seat, and definitely do not let them control the music, okay? This is not, so this person who's in the front seat has to be well positioned, okay? They have to navigate, they have to pull snacks from the back, and they have to know what to do with the music. They have to know when you need conversation, and they also need to know when you are in your zone and you just need about an hour and 90 minutes to get through this next town. So this is a well-positioned person. Is anybody able to relate to this? Okay, so I see some head nods, some thumbs up. Great. So you have to position your people well, okay? You have to say and be able to assess. All right, a person needs to be willing to say, I am good with maps, but do not let me pack the cooler. That is not their job, okay? But the person who loves to pack the cooler, let them pack the cooler. So when your team, even though some people may come in with skills that are on their resume or skills that you know about them, you got to ask them. Yes, Mr. Ruth says you got to know your ministry. Listen, do not find yourself on any part. Do not find yourself on the choir when you know you're supposed to be in the kitchen. You know where where you're supposed to be. Okay. You have to do an interview process with them. Norberto, that is exactly right. And here's the thing, make no assumptions. Okay. Because you may assume that the person who makes the amazing little perfectly packed snack actually wants to always do the snacks. You might talk to people and be like, oh, wow, you actually want to be in the front seat. Okay, well, you know what? Let's get in the front seat. So talk to people and find out not only what they do well, but what do they want to do? What are they curious about? What are they exploring? And position them well. Position them well. So think about it. Sometimes I even go beyond a car. I think about a school bus trip when we're going like, we used to go roller skating. We used to go to, we used to do the shopping trips in Reading, Pennsylvania and all that stuff. And you had your whole entire bus and it was like your whole community and y'all were going. And you had to have that person behind the driver's seat, the bus driver that could give the directions. And you had people in the back and you had all kinds of activities. So position your people well. Put them where they want to be, right? Put them where they're going to be excited, okay? So, and then also is that like when they say, they're positioned well, the next thing is say, okay, well, who else should be on this trip? Listen, you got a good trip going. If there's room, you might want to if there's not room, sometimes you're like, you know what, make some room. Ask the people in the car with you, who are the people that you think should be on this trip with us? Who are the people that should be on this project with us? Who should be in the room? Matter of fact, if you really want to take it to another level, have everybody sit down and say, okay, it's the day of the event. It's the day of the project. Who should be there? Who should we reach out to right now? Okay, to make sure we have what they need when they come. So let's not wait and let's not assume that, oh, we want to do, let's make an invitation to blank elementary school, right? Have you reached out to them? Have you even put someone in the bus to say, what does this community need? What would you all like? We're thinking of doing this. How can we make sure that this is working for you? So have you positioned people from your end goal at the beginning, right? So that's something you can do with your collaborating. I also say, have your 100 on your 100 on 100. It's your top list of key folks who love you, who will buy anything, they'll share anything, they'll support anything. You want to slowly get up from like 10. Sometimes you start with like 5 people and they're like, woohoo! It doesn't matter. Tina, everything that you do at Imaginariums, I'm on it. I'm sharing it. I'm doing it. I'm sending it out, right? So you have that, but then it becomes 10. So you want to also say, okay, these are my core people that I know will support me. How do I make sure that they have pom-poms? How do I make sure that it's easy for them to shout us out and make it easy for them to share? So when you say, oh, could you share this with someone? Well, did you send them some language to share with them? Have you made it easy for them to share? Did you send them a beautiful picture of your fabulous self in your project? Give them, make it easy. Or do you have them Googling, trying to figure out how they're going to talk about what you want them to do? So make sure that everybody has what they need. So, and I say that because, okay, so these are your people that are on your bus, they're your 100. These are the people that they didn't really help plan the trip, but they're going on the trip with you. You have a lunchbox packed for these people. It's pre-packed because we might not stop for the rest stop that you need to stop at. So what do you need? And then make sure that they have what they need in their box, okay? Does that make sense? Because we want these people to be on the bus. We want them to go on another trip. This is not the last trip. This is not the last project, okay? So the next one that I want us to think about, you guys are awesome because you are I am rushing and rolling through this, but we're doing good. Okay, so the next one is realize the roadmap. What's the timeline? How long is this trip going to take? Do you have everything that you need for the trip? What's the technology that you may need, right? Will there be stops on the way? Are you taking a less traveled road or well-paved road? Thank you, Vanessa. This is good to know. Good tidbits. Good. Position the people with expertise in problem solving. So sometimes we silo people that are like the creatives and then the people who are like, the tech people. No. Put them together. Put the creative people that typically would not be with like the tech folks, put them together because there's going to be some idea generation that would not happen, right? So we want to put them together. Listen to your team. Listen to your team. They are going to tell you. And I know that you are the kind of person, because we've already established rituals for you to trust yourself, you are going to trust who you choose, okay? Because we already grounded, we tapped in, we know the great me, we know the great we, we're clear. So when we have already picked the team and you tell me something, I don't have time to question you. I've already gone through the process of making sure you are a perfect fit, right? And you're going to do great, and your team is going to do great, and the project and your partner is going to do great. Believe in the best case scenario for everybody that you have allowed to be on this bus and this trip with you, okay? So the next one is also listen to yourself. Trust your gut. Take some time to be with yourself and know what is right for you. Quick exercise that I'm going to give you is that take a day in a part of town that you always go to. You always go to this place. You do this all the time. You do it so much, it's mindless. That day, go next door. Don't go to the place you usually go. Go next door or across the street. Experience that place. Walk outside the door, take a deep breath, and say, should I go to the left or the right? Or should I go across the street? Listen, take a moment until you hear a quiet voice that says, go to the left. Go. And then keep doing it. Give yourself about at least 2 to 3 hours to follow your intuition, okay? Follow your intuition everywhere for that time period, and you're gonna see where your intuition leads you. Find ways to trust yourself, okay? The next one that we're going to talk about is generate the energy. Well, we talked about this already. Make it easy for promotions, supply the crew with what they need, make it easy for people to support you. No, never assume a no is forever. No is just an easy word. It's got one less letter than yes, okay? I can't believe blame people for saying no. Don't blame people for saying no. I mean, sometimes when it's like, oh, do you want to go on this trip? They're like, no, I don't want to go on this trip. What if they're a visual learner and they just need pictures from the trip? So you go on the trip and then you have pictures. So you never know, but don't become the person that says, well, they said no last time, so I'm just not going to ask them. Always invite, always, until they say, what, stop inviting me. Then, okay, you got to respect. We want, enthusiastic consent around these days, but we just don't assume that when they're like, no, it might be like, no, not this time. But people often need a lot of invitations or a lot of ways to be able to connect with you. And it definitely needs to be updated, okay? Okay, so we have 10 minutes and I'll do this last one. Actually, I have 2. Okay, then, fabulous. Okay, pardon me. Shift is your show. It's okay to pivot, just check in with your team. Don't be out listen, don't be out in the middle of your trip and you just decided to take another direction and you did not talk to your team. This is not what we came to do, people. Make sure you talk to your team, improve where need be, rest and reflect on the road, okay? Break bread to break through. Sit down, eat with people, take a pause, check the pulse, see how's everybody doing, and then push forward, okay? And this always brings us back to, we went from the universe back into us. Never forget you, okay? Make sure that this is something that excites you. Are you excited? I want to be excited. And after you've done all this work, be extra. You want to put an extra design on the slide, put an extra design on the slide. You want to just be as exciting for you as you can possibly be, because I tell you, your excitement is contagious. Do you all feel my excitement? Does anybody feel, okay, good. You feel my excitement because it's contagious, right? So it's so contagious. And I promise you, anyone who knows me, they know that I can only be this exciting because I give myself what I want. I'm excited for you. So that's why we're here. Make it beautiful, stay connected, and complement your collaborations, create an irresistible invitation, make your language exciting. And again, if that's not your lane, outsource it. Don't be afraid to ask people why, because you're allowing people to serve you and you're serving them. So keep it going, keep all of that going. Oh my goodness, can I recap through each slide and quickly do? Okay, yes, let's go through very quickly. And if you have a question while I'm doing this, okay, so does anybody have any questions about the great me? Everybody clear? Okay, you got to know who you are, lock and load, ritual the connection to yourself, your brag sheet, your testimonials. Good. The next one is the great we. We want to go far, right? So we're going to go together. And so we're going to find amazing people that we can go with. The rituals of connection. Are you listening to them? Are you studying what your collaborators need? The next one is the amazing project. After you've done all that work, you've tapped in with yourself. You've tapped in with your collaborator, you've tapped in with your network, you know how to serve. You have made how you serve a service so that somebody can pay you, right? And you've let people know how you're ready to serve and made it easy for them. That's one thing I do want to say. Make it easy for people to pay you. Please make it easy for me to pay you. I cannot tell you how many people make it hard. Send the invoice. I want to cut the check. Send the invoice. Have a Cash App or PayPal or Zelle that is easy for me to understand so that I can find you. Make it easy, make it easy, make it easy. People want to take the way you serve, turn it to a service. There is somebody that wants to pay you, make it easy. Okay, how are we cooking together? What are the rituals that we have for connection? What needs to be outsourced? What can you do to make your team shine? And what are your rituals of working together? Position your people. We talked about, we want to make sure that front seat driver is in the right place. We do not want the person who packed the lunch to be fixing the car on the highway. Make sure you have the people that you need, okay? The next one is through the hills and the valleys, realize the roadmap, timeline, technology, listen to yourself and your team. Oh, one thing, who are your forest people? The people who see the minute details, and who are the people who see the big picture are your forest people, and then know who your tree people are, right? The tree people are the people, they see each and every individual tree. Love both of them because you need them. I'm a forest person who happens to like trees because I like spreadsheets, but that's another story. Generate the energy, okay? Be exciting, give some people reason. If somebody says no, well, give them a reason to maybe say yes next time. Make sure you're communicating. Make sure people find that it's easy and how to reach you and how to know what happened, okay? The next one is shift as you show. It's okay to pivot, check in with your team, break bed to break through. When issues come up, put some food, bring food, okay? Because there's gonna be issues. So break bread with people and sit down, pause, take a moment where you're not talking about it. The next one is make it exciting for you. Yes, okay. All right, so we literally, I cannot believe that we got through all of that. I do have, I am going to do a workshop and it's going to be in October. I will make sure that you all have updates. And then also I will be emailing you with a little thank you. It will have some of these tips. I'll have a little beautiful piece of paper that you can look at. It's a nice little checklist. So I'll send that out to everyone. And then we'll go from there. But thank you all so much. And I'll turn it back over to Sheila.
Hello, everyone. That was a lot. I know you guys are still letting it marinate, and that's fine. I guess the session was recorded, so you all will be able to have these notes to recap. But did anyone have any questions that Mēlani could answer while you have her beautiful presence right here? And don't ask us how you can get in touch with her afterwards. Okay, well, she already.
Well, this is how.
They can.
If you have any,
people don't be shy.
Don't be shy. Yes, you can text, and you can actually text me at this number if you want to text me. Send me a text, and I can answer some questions for you. You can email me if you want me to do a presentation with your team. Let me know as well. Okay. See, she's letting you guys know how to find her. That's how it works. Okay. Well, we're going to be. First of all, I wanted to thank you for. Okay, she put that in the chat. I want to thank everybody for attending today's session. I hope you have some great takeaways. I know I took notes, and that you're able to put into practice. She broke it down like a fraction, and each slide. That's why I kind of asked her to go right back through them. So hopefully you guys were taking notes and taking pictures, maybe also just to capture that. Great takeaways. Really great takeaways on how you can, expand your business. So before we end, we'd love to take a minute to hear from you about how this workshop resonated for you. And our producer would like to do a quick Zoom poll. So don't disappear just yet before you take the poll. We want to give people a few more minutes. We don't, there's about 30 of you on, and we're just looking for a little bit more participation. Real simple poll. Just let us know.
Thank you all so much for your
participation.
Yes, thank you so much, Sheila. We're going to give another minute for the poll, and then we will wrap up. Thank you, Mēlani. That was a wonderful, wonderful talk. We have a question regarding the October workshop. Someone in the chat, Vanessa, is wondering how they can contact you. Oh, and I see that you replied. Thank you so much, Mēlani. You are on top of it. All right, all. Thank you for your participation in the chat. I will be ending the poll. Thank you again to Mēlani, and I really appreciate Sheila as well for being our wonderful host. Everyone, enjoy the next session and have a great day.
All right, so just to end, this retreat is co-sponsored. It's a project of the Mid-Atlantic State Arts Agencies in partnership with the National Endowment for the Arts and the National Assembly of State Arts Agencies. And we are grateful for the generous support of all of these collaborators and grateful for your participation today. We look forward to seeing you after the quick break to participate in one of the next sessions. And they are sensory-friendly practices in the arts classroom or know your worth. That's a nice piggyback to right now. Strategies for pay equity. Hope to see you at one of the next sessions. Thank you so much.